G'day all, Ben here from East West. This is part 14 and this is the final part of the code. So thank you very much for coming along on the journey. I know there's been a fair bit I've had to do through this, but you've seen it through to the end, and now I'm going to show you the last bits of code. Also into the description I will place a link to get the code. So if you don't want to go through all coding it yourself, you can just download the code straight away. If you did like this series, then don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I appreciate it very much. I put some work into it, and I'm basically going to leave it here when we finish. But there's always the possibility of doing more. I think this is just a starting point. That the possibility is endless as to what we could do here. So I may update this from time to time. But if there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. Leave a comment. I'd appreciate the feedback. So with that being said, let's just jump in for the last time and finish off our code. So here we are back on the Jupyter notebook for the last part. This is part 14 in the series. So look, at this point the hard work's kind of done. We've done all the heavy lifting and we've worked around all the little problems that pop up. So as we bring up the application itself, there's really not much more to do. The only thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring in the code for the Bollinger Bands and also for the stochastics. But any potential problem with the stochastics has been worked out when we solved our MACD plotting problem, and the Bollinger Bands are pretty straightforward. They're just like the moving average, just a little bit more involved. So that's all we need to do to finish this off. So let's just jump in and do it. So I'm just here in the function section. I'm just going to scroll down until I find, okay, so here's the MACD. So I think, not that it really matters, but I'm just going to place the Bollinger Band function underneath that. Actually, before I do that, there is one thing we do need to do. So just come here to the add study function, and I'm just going to make sure that none of these are commented anymore. So if you haven't added these in, just go ahead and make sure that all the types are in there. So it doesn't matter what order it comes in. The order is set on the main window when we give the study options. Okay, so this sets the order in which they come up into the menu. So where the functions are, it doesn't really matter. I'm just, for ease, I'm just going to try to put all the functions for working out the technical indicators together. So with that being said, let's do the function for the Bollinger Bands to start with. So I'm just doing this the same way. Just give it a little heading, and I'm just going to start here with a new cell, and then all we need to do, this is going to look very, very similar to everything else we've been doing. So all we need to do now is to define the Bollinger Band function itself. So we do that, and just make sure, of course, that your function has the same name as what has been described here, where we just uncommented everything. So make sure that's the same, so it knows what to pass. So where are we? Here we are. Okay, so now all we need to do is to bring in the labeling, that sort of stuff. So we'll just bring all that in. So we're just going to ask for the length of the Bollinger Bands. So we're just going to give it a period. So we're just going to give it a default period of 20 because that's pretty standard. And then of course we're just going to ask for the standard deviation, and that's going to be set to a standard of 2 standard deviation. So obviously you can change that around as you want. Now the thing with the Bollinger Bands is you may want to color your bands differently, like your high band, your low band, and your moving average in the middle. So what I've done is I've just split this up so that we can color each band the way we want. So I'll just start with the labeling and the button for the high band color, the upper band. Okay, so this is for the high band, so HB for high band and the upper band. So look, this is all very much the same as what we've done. So you'll see here, the study window, choose color. We're going to use the lambda function of select color, which we have been using. And here we're going to do update selected BB color. That's going to be a new function that we're going to just input down the bottom. So this should look pretty much the same as what we did with the MACD. All right, so it's just doing it for Bollinger Bands instead. So now we just need to bring in exactly the same thing, but for the lower band. So this is virtually the same, so we're just putting LB here instead of HB, and then everything else is the same. And yep, that's all the same. So this is all identical because obviously we're just putting in the two different lines there. And then we just need to bring in the moving average. So just call it the middle band just to make it easy. But yeah, obviously this is just the moving average. Okay, so I've just done a default of the bands being black and the moving average being blue. You can set it up in any way you want. I mean, that's the point. It's all about building sort of flexibility into the options for the user. So that's pretty straightforward. That's nothing different from what we have been doing. And now it's just a question of doing this little function for the actual lines themselves. So this is the update selected BB color, okay, which is what each of these is using here, this function here. So it's just, if it's high band, then the color is going to be HB, it's going to be the HB color. If it's low band, LB color, else use the mid color. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. You should be able to work that out yourself. I don't think there's anything. Actually, that probably just needs to. No, pardon me, don't do that. that's outside of the if loop. That actually probably should have a space in it. So once all this is doing is once we've got that, then we're just configuring. This is that line for the little box that shows what color's been selected. So look, that's pretty straightforward. You can see there, right? There's not a lot going on there that you haven't seen before. And then we just need to quickly write out, I might just fix this a little bit. See how this goes off the page? I don't like that. So what I like to do is I just like to bring that down so I can see what's going on. So I'm just going to do that myself here on that. So I just think it's a bit neater when you can see what's going on. So this is just the basic on OK function. Okay, so everything here is pretty much the same. The only thing here we've got the standard deviation we're going to put as a float because that just means that it can be a decimal. So you might want to do 2.5 or something like that. So that is that. Everything else here is basically we're just using the TA library volatility tag here to get the Bollinger high band, the Bollinger low band, and the Bollinger moving average. Okay, so that hopefully you understand what all that means. With that TA library. So we're grouping here BB for Bollinger Bands, obviously, because that is part of the Bollinger Band group. Everything else here is exactly the same, and that is the Bollinger Bands taken care of. So now we just need to do exactly the same thing for the stochastics. So this is all very much the same in line with what we've been doing. So we'll just bring it all in here. So all the labeling, the stochastics window length, we're going to set to a default of 14. That's pretty much the standard default. And the smoothing factor, the smoothing length here, we're just going to bring in at 3. So that I'm just using the sort of the universal standard settings for all of these. You can do it any way you want. It's all built in to be flexible. That's the whole point. Now we just need to move on to get set up the K line and the D line. And so this will just follow pretty much exactly the same sort of stuff as we were doing previously with all the others. This is no different. This is just using stochastics. It's just basically plotting the same sort of line. Just all the magic happens in the TA library. So this is all pretty stock standard. You should be able to just look through that yourself. I think I might change these. I might make this 1. I think they look a bit better when they're a little bit thinner. So that's all good. I might even do the same thing for the Bollinger Bands. Yeah, because these, I don't like the width at 2. It's a little bit too thick. I think you just keep it at 1. It just keeps it a little bit more elegant. Width. Okay, cool. So that's done. So yeah, this is all pretty straightforward from here. And now we just need to bring in some of the colors. So we're just going to write this little function here, which we've been using in this lambda part here. Okay, so it's just basically if it's %k, because we need 2 lines, right? The %k line and %d line to make the stochastics indicator. So if it's %k, we're just going to select the color for the stock k, which is what we did up here. And then obviously if it's not k, it's got to be d. So we will select the color that's been selected for d. Okay, so that should look pretty familiar. That should probably have a little space in it. And that is that. Okay, so that's pretty much the same as everything else. So now we just need to do our on OK functions. So the first part is pretty straightforward. We're just collecting all that information. Now, some of this just gets a little bit sticky if you don't know how to use the TA library. So if you don't and you want to add more indicators, I'd suggest just doing a little side code and just fiddling around with the TA library just to see how it's calculating and what it's throwing back, because this needs to take all these arguments, the high, the low, the close, the window, and then it'll throw a signal. It'll throw a stock, which is the %D, and a signal, which is the %K. So we just turn that into %D and %K. Same way as we've done it everywhere else, but that's how you do it. So you just need to be a little bit on top of how this is all working, okay? But that's pretty straightforward. You should be able to find plenty of examples on how to work the TA library. Also, you might use Pandas TA, so it might work a little bit differently, but the main thing is to just make sure that the correct values are being passed into the data frame in a column, so that the library, the Matplotlib Finance library, can plot the chart properly. I just realised I made a little mistake. Remember all these changes I was making when I was giving it the width of 1? Don't do that. Don't do what Benny don't did. All right. The reason being is I just changed the width of the color display windows, and I don't want to do that. I don't know why I did that. It's I must have done this too early in the morning. My coffee machine is currently broken and I haven't had my coffee, so I'm not on top of it. So yes, wherever I changed those widths to 1, so I didn't Bollinger Bands, change them back to 2. So stochastics, did I do it? Yeah, I did it. So just make this back to 2 and just make this back to 2. My bad, my apologies. Don't do that. So with that being said, we should be ready to go. So here we are on the application window, and this should now be done. So we can add the stochastics, 14.3. There's the set. I accidentally shrunk that box. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, that brings in the stochastics. That's great. The Bollinger Bands, we can do the same thing here. And that brings the Bollinger Bands in, so that all works correctly. So that's great. And then we can clear all that. That works. That's fantastic. Moving average also works. We can also add. Actually, what we'll do is we'll clear that moving average, because that moving average was the same as the Bollinger Bands moving average. So let's just make this 5 and make this exponential and make this orange. So if we add this in, we can barely see it. That's probably a stupid thing to do. Bollinger Bands. Now if we add that in. Okay, so the moving average and the Bollinger Bands are on there. We can then add the MACD. Okay, so that's in there. So this is all looking good. This is all working as we would like to do it. Now, if we change the chart here, it will wipe out all that. You have to put it back on, but it's not perfect. But that's what happens. You get what you pay for, and you haven't paid anything for this. So look, guys, that is it. I think we've reached the end. I've sort of built this out as far as I intended to. But look, it's working the way it should. So this is just a basic template. From here, you can build anything in. So I think there's something like 130 different indicators in the TA library. So you could literally build 130 studies in here if you wanted. Or one of the other things you could do is you build a custom study. So that's something I might do down the track. That's one idea. Another idea is you could build some sort of stock screener that then populated a drop-down menu with all the stocks that meet the criteria, and you could bring up charts of each of those stocks to have a closer analysis and see what's going on. So look, it's only really limited to your imagination here. This can be whatever you think is possible. It's possible. You can do whatever you think might be relevant for you. So look, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for coming on the journey with me. I know it was quite a journey. I will put the link for the full code into the description of this video. Once again, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you want to see more, leave a comment. I can't read your mind. So if you think there's some more stuff you want to see, or you want me to keep going a bit further with this, certainly something I would be interested in down the track is actually figuring out how to draw trend lines and stuff like that onto this, which I think we could do. But I don't know that unless you tell me. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.